Hi everyone, I'm Bradley Botkin and I'm here with another CADET tutorial. Today we're going to talk about how to create roll-up captions for YouTube. So if you're watching the captions on this tutorial, you'll see that they're in roll-up style rather than pop-on style. Pop-on style is most common. Almost all of the streaming platforms support it, but very few support roll-up captions. Roll-up captions are often much easier to read, particularly for a talking head piece like this one, not a dramatic piece. But YouTube is the only platform that I'm aware of that really supports nice roll-up captions. So I'm going to show you how we did this using CADET. It's a little complicated, so bear with me. What are the steps for creating roll-up captions? We're going to transcribe the audio into a single row, a single CADET row. So all of it blasted into a single row. We don't care about creating multiple rows, multiple captions, because what we're going to do is create single row captions which get squeezed into a SEC file, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So we transcribe into a single row. Then somehow magically we're going to break up all that big row into lines that are no longer than 32 characters. Why 32 characters? Because the SEC format requires that lines not be longer than 32 characters, and we're not going to get into really why that is, but it's true. So we break them up into 32 character rows. And then we're going to add a blank line in between each row. And that's because we want to import this thing back into CADET. And we want each row to show up as a separate caption. So then we're going to import as plain text back into CADET. We'll see what that looks like. Then we're going to time the rows during playback, just like you normally would do in CADET. So you time the rows. And then you export your CADET project as a caption file in SEC format. Then you can import those SEC captions, an SEC file, into YouTube, and you get nice roll-up captions. So let me go back to my project. So I already have a video that I'm going to caption. It happens to be one of the tutorials that we used earlier. So I'm just going to play it for a moment. And let's get it up to the beginning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bradley Botkin.
Right.
Here for...
So I'm going to start transcribing. Hi, everyone. I'm Bradley Botkin. Here for
the CADET tutorial.
For another CADET tutorial.
Today we're going to...
I'll hit a return here just to start a new line because I like that line. So what did he say? Today we're going to depart from our normal
CADET specific functionality.
CADET, specific functionality. So notice I just keep typing. I just type. I listen to it. I can use, the nice thing about doing it in CADET is that I can use CADET's keyboard shortcuts to pause the video. I could even slow the video down. Notice that over here in the player, you've got play slower, play faster. So I can use those to actually slow it to half speed and listen to it that way. That way I might actually be able to type and keep up with it.
We're going to take
and we're going to take a short
dive into
and on it goes. So I'm just going to transcribe all of that. Okay, so here I am. I've typed all the way to the end. And I've got it all in a single cell, single row. And somehow I want to convert all of this to 32 character rows. Well, I can't really do this in CADET yet. Cadet doesn't have a feature to do that automatically for you. Note to self, create this feature. And a future version of Cadet will have a function that transforms the selected rows into 32 character rows. But for now, I'm going to do this externally. So I'm going to select everything in here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go to my favorite text editor. For me, that's BBEdit on the Mac here when I'm using the Mac. So let me just go over to BBEdit. Here we go. And I've set this up to just show you. This is 32 characters. There's 10, 20, 32 characters. So I'm going to paste my text in here. Let me go back to the beginning here. So this was my big run-on text paragraph. I do have some new lines in there because when I got to places where I knew that I'd naturally want a new roll-up row, I started a new line. But it's all sitting in the same row in Cadet. So what do I do? It just so happens that that BBEdit has a nice function called wrap, somewhere in here, hard wrap. And I'm going to tell it to wrap to 32 characters. So let me say wrap. Oh, look at that. It's magically 32 characters. And if I save this thing, well, I'm not going to save it yet, but I'm going to get rid of, and you can see I'm going to scroll to the bottom. And here we go. Yeah, it's all within 32 characters. And it's nicely word wrapped. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this top line that proved to you that it was 32 characters. And I'm going to insert a new line. I want to break up each of these lines to have a blank line in between them, because when we import it back, that's how Cadet knows how to parse a plain text file. It says, oh, every caption is delimited by a blank line. So in BBEdit, I'm going to replace a new line. That's how you denote a new line. And I'm going to replace it with a double new line. So let's see what happens. Let's replace all. Look at that. So, and you could do this if you're on a Windows box. An editor like UltraEdit will let you do this. And you could even do this in Microsoft Word. Maybe I'll have another tutorial to show you how to do it. In Word, you use the magic of margins. You got to make sure to also select a monospace font. And but you could do this in Microsoft Word and export it as a plain text file. It's not that hard. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go save it up into my folder, and I'm going to call it wrap32 text. There it is. Okay, so let me go back to Cadet. So let's see, I think I do that. So I claimed that you could use Microsoft Word to do this 32 character word wrap. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Here we are in Microsoft Word, and I happen to be on a Mac, but you'll find that the same exercise can be done on a PC with no trouble. So the first thing I'm going to do is select all, and I'm going to set the font to a monospaced font. So Courier New is a good selection for that. And I'm going to set the size to 24. Now, setting the size larger is important, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So first thing I'm going to do is give myself a ruler here so that I can check to see if it worked. So let's make a 32 character ruler. That's 20. That's 30. 1, 2. So why is the font size important? Well, Microsoft Word is all about pretty pictures. It's pictures of words. It's all about really printing and formatting. But we're interested in real-life 32 character wrap. So what we want is for the characters, so here's a character, we want the characters to be larger than, much larger than a tick mark, or even half a tick mark. So 24 point does that for us. You can set the when we reset the margin, those margins can be set to tick marks or even half tick marks. So that'll make sure that what looks just like a pretty word wrap is indeed a usable word wrap. So let me now paste the text that we transcribed into CADET. So I'm going to match the formatting. So there it is. Let me slide up to the top. There it is. I don't know why this is. So right. You can see that it extends out. Lots of these lines extend out past the 32 character boundary. Really, they extend out much further than that because, but they're wrapping around because in Word, the typical margin is 7.5 inches. That is to say, a page size is about 7.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and select all, and I'm going to bring that margin in until the ruler just wraps. Look, see? So the ruler wrapped. I bring it back out. So right there, we can see that all the columns, except for these nasty spaces maybe, happen at under 32 characters or less. So the first thing I'm going to do is save this file as a text-only file. And I'm going to force Microsoft Word, when it saves the text-only file, to put returns, carriage returns, line feeds, right here at all the places where it's just a wrap right now, just a soft wrap. So let's go ahead and save it. And I'm going to select the Word document type to be not Word document type to be a plain text file. Okay, and I'm going to give it a name. Let's go up to Documents, Rollup, yeah, wrap32 msword.txt. I've used that before, so let's just replace that file. Yeah, replace it, and look what comes up next. It's a dialog box here that has a very, very important checkbox. It's insert line break. So wherever it did a soft wrap, it's going to make it a hard break. So insert line, and in fact, I'm going to give it a different encoding. I'm going to call it UTF-8 Unicode. That way, if I had any wacky characters in there, smart quotes and things like that, those all get preserved. And so I'm going to say OK. And that's done. So if I now close this and open a new file, let's do an open. Let's go find that file. Here it is. I can just click through this. And let me move it back over here. All right. And there we go. All right, so you can see that this is just about right. There are some oddities in here. There's where it wrapped words, wrapped sentences, it left the space in between them. So there are lots of places where there's a space paragraph mark, and I want to get rid of those trailing spaces. So first thing I'm going to do is let's do a find and replace. So we're going to replace. Paragraph mark in Microsoft Word is $P. So a space, whoops, is $P. Let's do that again. Space, $P. There we go. We're going to turn that into just a plain $P, paragraph mark. So it's going to eliminate all the spaces before the paragraph marks. And let's replace all. Okay, there were 126 of those. And the next thing I'm going to do, oops, I don't know what happened there. There. And the next thing I'm going to do is put a blank line in between each of the lines. Why am I going to do that? Because we're going to import that thing back into CADET. And CADET, when it imports a plain text file, it says each caption stands alone on its own line. with a blank line in between the captions. So let's replace paragraph marks with double paragraph marks. And let's replace all. Okay, 153 of those, and look. Okay, and we're going to get rid of this ruler that we created for ourselves. And I'm going to save it. Yep, it knows that it can't save formatting because it's just plain text. So here we are back in CADET. I'm going to import the file, current directory, rollup, import type, plain text, and it was called wrap32. There it is, look. By adding all those blank lines in between each row, I now have single row, they don't exceed 32 characters, and ready to be timed. So I'm going to go to the beginning, and I'm going to start timing, just like normal. So let's start it.
Hi everyone, I'm Bradley Botkin, here for another CADET tutorial. Today we're going to depart from our normal CADET specific functionality, and we're going to take a short dive into timed text formats, why there are so many, what they have, useful and foolproof. There you have it. Hope this was useful. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
And so there's the end, and I'm going to go back here and stop this, and I'm going to slide this out to the end to 1322, and I'm going to put an end time in here. So let's jam the end time. Okay, so we have an entire timed file. And let's go ahead and play it back from the beginning. You won't see it as Rollup, but you'll see
Hi
that
everyone,
it's timed
I'm
properly.
Bradley Botkin, here for another CADET tutorial. Today we're going to depart from our normal CADET specific functionality, and
right, so you can see that the time codes are right, and now we're going to smush this into an SCC file. So we're going to go to export, and we're going to select SCC. There it is. And I'm going to say that this is a rollup, and we're going to export it as two-line rollup. Rollup.scc. Whoops. Rollup.scc. Okay. It's happy. So let's go over to YouTube. That's where the video was that I was just playing. And you know, you can play remote video from YouTube in CADET. If you don't know that, go back and watch some of the other tutorials. And so here we are. This is our video, but we do not yet have captions. So we're going to go. We're in the YouTube Studio. If you're not familiar with this, and I'm going to go to More Options, and you see down here that we've got the option to upload subtitles or closed captions. So I'm going to do that. It's with timing, so I'm going to continue. And it's in Documents, Rollup. It was called rollup.scc. Let's choose it, and let's save it. Okay, everything worked. Let's go over here.
Hi everyone, I'm Bradley Botkin,
Oh, look,
here for another CADET tutorial.
We've got Rollup
Today
Captions.
We're going to depart from our normal CADET specific functionality, and
very nice.
We're going to take a short dive in.
So you can see that it was not too hard. We were not able to do everything inside of CADET yet, because breaking things up into nice, clean 32 character lines is not so easy in CADET. So it's best to just transcribe the whole darn thing into a single cell, and then use a text editor to wrap it at 32 columns, and then re-import back into CADET. So just to reiterate what we did, we transcribed the audio into a single row in CADET. Then we copied that cell, all the text from that cell, into our favorite text editor outside of CADET, and we wrapped it at 32 characters. We added blank lines in between each row, and we also did that in our external editor by changing a carriage return to a double carriage return, basically. Then we imported that as plain text back into CADET. So then we've got a caption file that has one row captions. We time those rows during playback, just like normal in any CADET project. Then we exported the captions in SCC format, and then we imported the SCC file into the YouTube video for playback. And that's what we've done. So there you have it. I hope this was useful. Make nice, pretty, easy to read roll-up captions. And that's how you do it. Bye-bye. See you next time.